Okay, so number 3.
Episode 3.
Yeah, it's a little sideways on you. I don't know if it matters or not.
Episode 3.
This is a double.
Yeah, start over again.
Start over again. Wait. So do we have a plan
I don't
for the
think we have a
episode?
plan.
I think my thought process is we would just take off from where we left off. Is like, so basically have maybe as we go through all the pain bodies that we were in when we started the marriage, it will both bring them up as here's where the marriage is going, or here's the trajectory, right? But at the same time, it will allow us to go back and go, well, here's everything that was set in, kind of what happened in the second episode. Here's everything that got set in right pre. And so we would kind of like bounce back and forth between us and the 20 years thereof, and then everything that was pre us. And then, because it's all the same. It's just like how it's playing out at different parts.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me see. Am I supposed to strike up some subjects there?
I don't know. What's on the list?
I mean, the list has attachment styles, ego relationship resolution, external validation seeking. What does that say? Achieve for love.
Oh, I have to achieve in order to get love.
Oh, achieve for love. Okay, that didn't make sense to me. That's why, because it's a your thing. And then scarcity, right? Oh, there you go. This is something that came up to me this morning that I think is very applicable. That sets it. What one I think sets in the origin of the pain body right from the start, and that's your origin story, right? And so I thought, okay, that is maybe this would be the time to bring up both my origin story and then your origin story.
Okay.
And then start to like decode it and then showcase how the nuances of that propagate.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably talk about how all of those things
stem out of that.
Came up in our youth and childhood. Yeah. Am I up first? First?
No, I was just taking a sip. So my I had recently had a birthday. And then when my parents came over, more things came out that I did not even know, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of concretifies the whole thing even more, right? So like, not only the origin story is convoluted, it just like there's more stuff to add on. So mine is a little bit more precarious than yours. So I don't know did you want to do yours? Because mine is very lengthy.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so, and I was thinking about yours as well. So how about this? Once we get into yours, I will chime into yours.
I can probably chime into yours.
So the reason why the origin story is important, I've heard other people talk about this, is because when you're a child and you basically have zero, right, cognitive processing response to what is being said to you, like, right, truth versus not, because let's be honest, you're not, at that point, you're not realizing that some things that are being said or done are possibly one, unkosher or possibly not true, right? So you just kind of take everything at its own weight and then run with it, right? So mine, I say this because mine is not actually true, but it became true. And so I call it the table leg.
The infamous table leg.
I bring this up a lot. But I have worked with it for so long now that I do not have the influx of energy associated with it. And what's interesting is I have kind of turned it around into more of a superpower as opposed to a crutch, right? Crutch? Would that be the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so growing up, when I ask my parents, maybe I just also have an influx on it because I'm still like getting an arousal in my stomach area and my chest. When I ask my parents where I came from, their their response was that I was adopted, and they went to an orphanage.
Something every child wants to hear.
They went to an orphanage, and then at the orphanage, they had on one side, which in my childhood imagination, I imagined it on the right, was all the good kids in their cribs, laying peacefully in their beds. And on the left side was I, as a baby, tied to a table leg with ropes because I was so bad and unwanted, right? And the parents went, when the parents came to the orphanage to adopt, they asked what was wrong with this kid over here, me, pointing at me. So I kind of I have this whole movie in my head about this. And then the nurses, I don't know who this would be at the orphanage. You participating? Said that, oh no, you don't want that one. It's super bad. You want one of those. And then they, out of the goodness of their heart, I guess, decided to adopt me instead.
Take pity on you.
Well, but that's the thing. So I will say this because there's a good chance they might be listening to this. I think, and I do know they meant this in a very positive way.
I can see how it could be meant, and even could be taken in a positive way to make it seem like, oh, we really want you. You're so special to us. I get that. But
yeah, right. But if you're just a child and you don't understand, are you okay with her coming too? If you're just a child and you don't understand the nuance and the detail of oh, this is a positive thing. There's not. I can't.
I can see how it can also go very, very wrong into, oh my gosh, I was so bad and so unwanted that I wasn't even with the good kids. I was literally separated from them.
Yeah.
I was literally tied to a table. None of this happened. This is all.
Yeah, no, this is not my origin story. But however, this is the story I was told at least 2 times that I know of where I came from. So on top of that, I will say I have also heard stories of my true origin story, right? The true story of my birth, and then it got added on. But to begin with, to address the one that I heard about the table leg, if you hear something like that and you don't know how to process, then the only thing you're able to take away of it, something from it, is something negative, right? Which is basically, I don't know why that was the tendency, but that is the direction I went as a child, is that within me, I embodied that story as my truth. And so that story became that I'm not like anyone else, which now I realize is a positive thing.
Right.
I am completely different, which is right, which is also true. And I see that as a positive thing. But I guess on the negative part of it is I'm unwanted. And that was the thing I think that registered the most hardest, is I'm unwanted, right? And in last episode, or maybe even the first episode, we talked about safety, right? And that as a child, being unwanted, right, without really further exploration or being able to dive into the depth of self, being wanted means you survive, right? You're not left at the orphanage, not being fed tied to a table leg. And so I think that really set in this really messed up way of looking at yourself. For me, right? The way I looked at myself was quite messed up, I think, because right from the core, right, what that meant. And obviously this is all by design. I want to, as I address these things on the physical 3-dimensional plane, I do want to say that, that existed there for a very specific reason, right? A reason of I needed to feel alienated, and I needed to feel alone, and I needed to feel helpless, and I needed to feel different and then dirty and unwanted in order to have the life that I had. And so, so maybe I do still have some emotional influx about that. But but at the same time, right, I say this because it's a really messed up story to have. But I think all of us, I know you, at the core have this understanding. Like, oh yeah, I am unwanted and I'm alone and I'm not loved and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of this pervasive undercurrent of like my whole life. It's just, it's kind of like, it's always there. It's always been there.
Yeah.
And and I've never really, until really recently, d- dove into it to where did this come from? Why do I feel? How exactly do I feel? Because it's like, in the end, it all comes down to unwanted or unloved or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's special, unique flavors. Everyone has their own little unique flavor of it that makes it a little bit more nuanced.
Is our cat messing with our lights?
Uh,
Yeah. There'll be a huge shadow of a cat on the wall. I don't see it right now, but there will be. No, yeah, and right, and so at the core, I think my story, as in truth as it is, like embodies this pain body of whole humanity, because somehow at the core, for whatever reason, we decide, or we're told something, or we interpret something to where we are unlovable, we are unwanted, we are inherently bad, right? In this case, like, I don't even know what a baby could have possibly done to be bad, to be by the table leg tied
right.
with ropes, as opposed to being in the crib like all the good babies, right? But as a child, you're like, oh my gosh, I must be really bad if the nurses are taking me out of my crib and putting me over there.
Did you imagine yourself sitting against the table leg?
Yeah, I was sitting against
That's
the
what I
table
thought,
leg.
but, like-
yeah, but if I'm a baby, I don't even know how that, right? So obviously the nuances didn't make sense, but I was given just enough story to build my own full movie out of it.
Yeah.
And that became my truth.
I imagine you like sort of
Sitting
like
upright.
sitting upright, like how if a pirate's gonna like abduct someone, they're gonna tie him to the mast, or just wrapped around you and the table leg a couple times or something.
Yeah, with
and
a thick rope.
a thick rope,
So I can escape as a baby.
What, like nautical rope? It's probably like a good inch thick, which is not much smaller than you when you're an infant.
Yeah. Let me get her off. She's gonna argue with me. She's gonna argue back. Like, what? You don't want me to mess up?
This is my podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So like the details and the nuances that I worked with to design that story, were really real to me. So even though it was this like cute little story that you tell to a child, it really like became my truth.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like went the rest of my life, unbeknownst to self, living that truth that I'm dirty and I'm unwanted. And what I think what really made it even more pronounced in my life, or caused me more heartache than not, is when you are unwanted and dirty, right? Anytime somebody does want you, there sets in that scarcity mindset of, guess what? This is the best you're going to get. Because in my case, when my parents adopted me out of that orphanage, that was my only chance out, right? And I was supposed to be forever grateful for the fact
that you were saved,
that I was saved by my parents, right? And so because of that, I think everything that I approached in life, right? Any opportunity that I got, or any job that I had, right? I think it really transferred into jobs. I would like hold on to it, and I would I think it affected my self-esteem. That's what it was, right? My self-esteem was like, guess what? You are unwanted, right? So if I was in a job situation that wasn't healthy, I was less likely to leave it, because guess what? Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
You're going to go back to the orphanage tied to a table leg?
I mean, to some degree, you feel like you don't deserve it, or not?
No, I didn't. No, it was just the scarcity mindset of I got this opportunity.
So it's not that you don't deserve it; it's that you're just not. Another opportunity is not going to come around.
Yeah, right. So like, right, like I should be grateful for what I have, and because I'm not good, right? Because I'm bad, right? Because I'm tied to a table leg, I'm bad. Then there might not be another opportunity, right? So then, if you are in a crappy job situation, that scarcity mindset, in my case, because this, build my self-esteem to be extremely low. set in as, oh no, I'm not going to quit this job because where am I going to go? Right? Or, oh no, I'm going to let people treat me the way they're treating me because where else am I going to do? Right? And so that almost became like the self-deprecating filter that allowed the world to punch me with. And so it was, really kind of quite literally the origin story of in fact, even like a lie, like a fairy tale.
Right. All based on a story that was supposed to make you feel special.
Yeah, that completely backfired on their end, and then resulted in me, having to take 35 years or so to uncover that and go, my gosh, I'm living through that lie. I'm still living through that lie. Yeah. And so the scarcity is there, the self esteem is low. And so that propagates actions, right? So half of the time, last time we were talking about not being able to say no to someone, that sets in, right? So if the self esteem is low, if you are in a scarcity mindset of people liking you, right? All of that would come into play if that is at the core, right? You're thinking that you are dirty and unlovable and bad somehow, and then therefore this is the best you're going to get, right? It's almost that. It's like, this is the best you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You can see how you can draw a straight line from that to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's cat hair everywhere. Oh no.
I told you it's going to be cat hair
in my
everywhere.
nose.
Yeah. And so then there's the other half that I did get, but of course at the same time I did get to hear my real origin story of how difficult it was for my mom to go into labor, and then just in the recent couple of days it just got clarified even more that my mom was basically dying from kidney failure, and so I think as a child it just kind of like came out when she was halfway unconscious as they were trying to save her. I don't even know what you do in Soviet Ukraine in order to try to save someone from kidney failure. And then so like I think she was just out for the first 3 days, to where I think that I was thinking that probably also affects some kind of connection or some kind of development.
Not seeing a newborn baby, seeing their
Newborn
mother.
baby not being connected to the mother for the first 3 days for sure.
Yeah.
And then later it turned out that I was in hospital for weeks.
What do you eat? Is it just formula, or is it some other?
I don't even know.
mother?
Like what did they feed me
I
for
have
the
no
first
idea.
3 days? I'm assuming in Ukraine, like sharing milk was probably common.
Maybe, or maybe the hospital had a little stash of it.
Maybe had formula. I don't know what I have no idea. Because obviously, if she's out unconscious for 3 days,
Right.
then I'm elsewhere. Yeah. So, which I was thinking, that is probably so. And I think this relates to you. The connection that you establish with your mother, with your caretaker, right out of the bat, right, probably signifies a lot about the type of relationship that you are. She's like literally yelling back at me. Really, Lyra? The signifies of what kind of, right, like maybe the root chakra baseline stability is almost set in there, right?
Yeah, I mean it's like foundational to a person, but especially to a child.
To a newborn, right?
Yeah,
To where
it starts right there.
Yeah, to where in America, and when we had our 2 children, like to them, their goal, the nurses, when the baby comes out, is to clean it up as fast as possible,
Yeah.
so they can plop it on your chest to have that initial connection.
The kids were on your chest within a minute, maybe 2.
Yeah, because they were just rushing to get them clean.
It's like, okay, 10 fingers, 10 toes, put that goo in their eyes, clean them off a little bit. Here's some food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then they were basically trying to get it to latch onto my breast within a minute.
It's immediate.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense. That's what a newborn, anything just needs that connection.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously they're doing it for a reason, right?
Yeah, you see those videos of like, I don't know, a mother cat who ends up, that's the first thing that a newborn chicken sees, and so the chicken's like, "Oh, you're mommy," and so the chick just follows mama cat around, and it's just one of the litter. And it's like, oh, it literally imprints. This is safety. This is mom.
Yeah.
And so what happens if you're separated from her for days or weeks because, she's sick or you're sick as an infant?
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
I think what it does is changes your relationship structure, right? And then, so that's the true origin story. And then if you take on the story, almost maybe the true origin story was similar in a sense that I was alone and abandoned, and I felt alone and abandoned just as such an infant that I would never remember that. So maybe the story that my parents actually told me was energetically true to where I could connect with it, right? Because if they didn't make that story up, right, I would have never been able to still dig deep and go, well, where's the lack
Right.
of connection
Why do
coming
I
from?
feel like this?
Yeah, yeah. And so it maybe as a gift, they gave me this concrete story that I could grab onto and hold on to, but and then therefore unravel later. At the time, obviously, I didn't see it as a gift, but since I've been working with it and I've branded it as a table leg, it has been. I've seen it right. You kind of turn it into a superpower more so as opposed to a weakness. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think that set in really at the origin, really at the core, lifetime full of mess. I will use kind words today. That that propagated all kinds of subconscious programming that I would run and then be part and then the experiences I chose to participate in or direct results of that, quite literally, right? Like if that wasn't my origin story, right, I would have self-esteem to get a better job or to whatever, right? To say no to people. I mean, honestly, I probably would have not been here with you today, right? Because we and I would have never got married because of that. So yeah. So there's positives out of everything, even as negative as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So that I say this because I think it is important because all people at the core have something like that basically affects them so far forward into their life that that you almost need to go that far deep into your life to uncover what is it that is your story. So do you want to go into yours now?
I don't think it was really explicitly said, but I always had the idea that I had to like earn love from everybody, but specifically from my parents growing up. And so the way that I embodied that was by achieving stuff. I was a good boy. I was a good student. I was a good everything. That had become my and it was encouraged. It was rewarded, and so it set up this sort of reward behavior feedback loop where the better I would do, the more praise I would get, which I would directly interpret as love, and so then I would do more of it. And on one hand, that's better than gambling or drugs, and that actually, in a sense, served me well, you know, eh, academically and professionally. But having that connection between doing stuff and achievement and love really kind of messed me up. And when did that start? I'm not sure. Young. Um, I have a brother 3 years younger, and I don't think I was ever explicitly compared to him by my parents. Oh, you did better, you did worse, anything like that. But I kind of internally had my own little competition going on where if I could be better, then I would get more love. Um, and so I would I would do whatever I could to be better, get better grades, do have more achievements, do this first, do whatever it is. I would kind of go out of my way to, you could say, overachieve. And so, past that, you get into school and high school and college, and I, I got really good at knowing what the teacher wanted to hear, and I would write that down as my answer. Is that what I believe? Maybe, maybe not. Is that the right answer? It doesn't matter. I I could I could manipulate the situation in order to make me look the best, and that became my MO for life. In work, I would do overdo over go overboard and show off. I was careful not to show off in like a flashy way, but I would like oh, can I have something else to do? Can I almost suck up style in order to, oh, good job. Oh, you did a good job. Oh, not because I necessarily enjoyed the work, but because I was just craving that praise. Praise equals love. And I just didn't recently I've realized it's because I didn't feel it for myself. I didn't love myself. And so I was seeking this external validation, external source of love, which is really just validation, in order to fill that hole that was inside of me for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we've talked about this in the past, though I'll bring it up because I think it's important here. Your the reason why you were seeking validation to get love, the reason why you believe that the only way you can get love is through overachievement, right? And validation is because otherwise you were unlovable.
Okay, yeah. So a
I mean,
step,
I think that's the important part.
yeah. I inherently felt unlovable. And my particular flavor was that I felt like I was just fundamentally broken. Why? I'm not sure I can track down like an event that caused that, but I know I always felt a little bit odd, a little bit different than everybody else. Um and I just felt like there was just something wrong with me. And well, I can make up for it by going out of my way to earn this attention and
Well,
validation and love.
well, no, the if you are unlovable, the second you feel yourself getting love and it's associated with an action, as a child, the only thing you can go, look, if I do this, I get that thing that I'm not getting.
Yeah, it's that feedback loop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I do this. Oh, I feel like I have this hole. I'm missing something.
yeah.
Now I know that actually comes from within. But as a child, I had no idea. All I know is that I feel like something is missing. Oh, when I do this, I feel like that is getting filled, at least to some degree. I will do more of this. And the more I do and the more I get, it just reinforces it. And then it's just, how could it possibly be any other way? And I guess I just assumed everybody else was kind of like that. I think every child assumes that everybody else is kind of like them until a certain age when they're like, oh no, everybody's messed up in their own way.
I
But
I say right in our own flavor of Kool-Aid, but that's still, we're still drinking Kool-Aid. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
There's a multitude of metaphors there. Right. It yeah, your nuance is slightly different, right? You're going there overachieving, but at the core, you're unlovable. Might as well be tied to a table like at an orphanage.
yeah.
Unwanted.
It's in a I grew up in middle class household in America, and there was no I didn't have any of the actual physical struggles that you went through growing up. It was whatever I wanted, I would end up getting. I didn't have crazy things, I wanted a Nintendo, and one would come for Christmas. Uh, all my physical needs were taken care of. Um, but for whatever reason, I felt like I was just fundamentally broken, therefore unlovable. And even when there was even this little nagging sensation that when I would get praise or when I would get what I would interpret as love, that it was maybe a little out of pity, a little phony, a little
So even the love you would still not interpret it as honest.
right, because it's like because I had to do something to get it, and I kind of knew that you shouldn't have to do something to get it, right? I mean, you see any cartoon or something, and it's not you can earn, you know, I guess respect or honor or something, but love, is that something you earn? Maybe that's not how it's supposed to work.
No, I mean, but right as a child, you don't know that.
Right. I just knew that when I was good, in quotes, whatever that meant that day, I would get some sort of attention, affection, something that I would interpret as love. I'm like, oh, this is what it takes to be loved. I have to achieve. I have to achieve better than whoever's next to me, whether it's my brother, whether it's my coworker, whether it's it doesn't matter. I just have to be the
Sometimes me.
yeah, sure, my spouse. I have to be the shining star so that the spotlight would go on me. And I'm not. Now I'm more extroverted, but I was an introverted type of guy. I only want certain types of attention. I don't want to be. Well, I don't. This would have been super uncomfortable not that long ago. Just talking into a microphone. Any sort of public speaking
to me.
To you? Well, it's only you. Both of our listeners, our children. So I don't know. It was specific types of attention that I had mastered the craft of getting.
Yeah. But on that same level, what that is just a mindset of scarcity.
It is. It is. There is a mindset of the only way I can get loved is by doing this. And I have to keep doing this. I literally have to. This feeds into, well, I also can't do the opposite of that. I can't say no. I can't disagree. I can't voice my own opinion, which eventually turns into I can't have my own opinion.
Yeah.
There was a children should be seen and not heard type of mentality that I grew up with that,
but that just validates you as a human.
It doesn't encourage having your own opinion. It doesn't encourage independent thought. It kind of encourages, you blend into the background with all the others, and we'll let you know if we need you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get that. I didn't get the whole even though at the core, maybe I thought I was not worthy or not good, right? The way my parents raised me, I didn't feel I didn't have a voice.
Yeah. I mean, I would be asked, about my day, what do you think about this or that? But it wasn't like if I couldn't go, yeah, I don't want to go to church anymore. That would not have been something to say growing up.
Yeah, maybe we should go into that.
Okay, well, I was raised in a very strict fundamentalist type of religion with very strict and archaic views on any of the modern topics that kind of reinforces that you have to behave, you have to do good, or you will go to hell. You can't you name it, you can't this religion is the one and only chosen religion, and everyone else is going to hell. All the Jews, all the Muslims, all the Catholics, all the Baptists, everyone else going to hell.
You literally married someone who's going to hell.
Yeah, right.
If only you could save me.
So, this is, you grow up with this oh, we're how lucky are we to be the chosen people, right? There's only 2 million of them in the world, but lucky 2 million.
I love how every religion is the chosen people,
right? And they right, there was this I remember there was this chart on the wall, and it had on the left was Jesus, and there's a straight line to the church today. And branching off at various points, like a little fishbone diagram, is, oh, here's the Catholic Church, and here's the Protestants branch off of that, and the Methodists and the Baptists, and they all branch off, but there's a straight line. Not even a dotted line, a straight line. We all know what a straight line means. There's a direct connection. Jesus started this church, and here we are continuing it today. It is never was broken. Until I, learn at like age 16 or 17, oh, wait, this church was started in 1800 something? Oh, that line isn't that straight then, is it? And that I just felt so misled and lied to and deceived when I learned that. That kind of started my
Literally
cat attack.
jumped on the chair and
Yeah. That started my exodus, as it were, from, see what I did there?
Yeah, I like that.
From the church, which was met with great resistance from my parents. That was, I guess, really, that was the only real act of defiance that I did. That in marrying you. That was the only act of defiance I ever really did. Growing up. And even that was, I was 16, 17, maybe 18, I don't know. It was late high school.
Yeah, but that goes back to that control, right? Like the system, and in this case, your parental upbringing has you programmed into rigid adherence to the rules.
Right. And it was hard. It was hard. It was really hard because on one hand, I'm like, here is this thing that I just absolutely do not believe in anymore. I went from being a religious person to 180 degrees just militant atheist because I felt so lied to and deceived and manipulated by this church. And so I just went, I don't want anything to do with any of it. And I would refuse to go. Which is hard for me to say no, hard for me to go against the grain like that. And that it did feel like I was like cutting off my love supply.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like,
You probably were.
yeah. I mean, that drove a wedge between me and my family.
Yeah, but the love supply you were getting, let's be honest, was basically like some sort of fix.
Yeah, no, it was. It was
not
exactly
even honest. It was just a fix that you needed.
Yeah. But then I'm off to college, and then I'm out. So I was only in that house for 2 years after that. 2.5, 3 years after that.
No,
maybe?
you didn't move out until I met you.
Yeah, I was 21.
And I met you in the 20s, right? Or
I was
21?
maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't the high point.
Yeah, but that shows you, right? You are being raised in such an environment that you are unable to have your own voice.
Right. It's something that as I don't know. I know it was important to them. I understand that. But it was so important to them that, I was not allowed to have an opinion on the subject.
Yeah. Is there a balance though between having something be important to you and then at the same time, while you're a parent raising a child, allowing your child to be its own human being?
Right. There's the prodigal son allegory in the Bible where the son runs off and blows his inheritance and then comes back, and the father just welcomes him right back, despite having gone off and wasted away his money and his life and everything. So it's like, I know in their eyes this is a mistake, but it's my mistake to make. And I don't know, in my mind, the stricter that a child is raised, the more rebellious they will be when they have the option to. And that was my experience. And conversely, the more relaxed a child is raised, the less need they will have to rebel and do crazy and stupid things. So I was raised extremely strict and conservative, and there was no alcohol, there was no sex, there was no drugs, there was no having an opinion or anything like that. And as soon as I got out of that situation, I just went crazy with it all. So,
But not, and that's what it comes down to. I think not because you wanted to.
right, it wasn't even. I mean, half of it is what is I don't know. I'm what 17, 18. I've never had any alcohol, and I have no idea what it is. And all of a sudden, I have a friend that I can get something from, and so okay, oh, that's neat. But half of it is a little is rebellion too. Just I'm doing this because almost as a shot back.
I think most of it is rebellion. Is it not most of it? Is a higher percentage of rebellion than
Probably it's rebellion. It's like, oh, now I feel like I have some control.
Yeah, it's lack of control.
Yeah.
You were raised in a situation
Maybe
where you are not allowed to.
I should have started out there, like at the beginning of my story. Oy. And that lack of control is really the root thing that I felt. Lack of control and lack of love. Not lack of love, but I had to earn it. But like that was the only way I could earn it was through control. I could, how can I get this? How can I fill this hole that I feel inside? Because I don't love myself. I can control the situation to get love.
Control or manipulate. Same thing?
Same thing. I mean, control through manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you're fighting for the lack of control, or you're fighting for control because you feel like your situation of upbringing is unfair.
It's unfair. It's out of my, I have no control over this. And
yeah.
Even then I could understand that I have, there are things that you do and don't have control over. But it felt like these particular things, or a lot of them, I had no control over, and it was unfair. And it was like, I could have control over them if I tried hard enough, or if I said something, which was hard to do. But like, I don't have any control over gravity. Okay, that's fine. But I probably do. I do have control over, going to church. I can eventually say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm just recalling this just based because I think it would be useful for you to bring this up. Whenever you would get a no from them, it was not no with an explanation. It was no because we said so.
Because we said so. There was a lot of because we said so.
Yeah. So yes, you can. I think we are raising our children, and if we do tell them a no, there's this adult-like conversation of why it's a no. There's an explanation, like, why can I not cross the street alone coming home from elementary school, right?
Yeah, because it's dangerous, and because people get hit, and because as careful as you may be, there's some guy who's texting driving down the road at 30 above the speed limit.
Yeah, no. So one, there's the fears, and we can address those later. But anytime we say no, I think we at least try to do our due diligence to say no. And here's all the factors that we're factoring into it. Right? Yeah. Now, with them being older, I think they can now comprehend this. And so when you're a child, like you see you're 3 or 4 and mommy and daddy say no, a lot of times adults start saying no because I said so, or because that's how it is, right? That like, what's the word? Infallible statement of like, this is just how it is. And so you get into that pattern because you think, oh, at 3 my child doesn't need to know the details of why this is a no, right?
Right.
But then you could be just as innocent as that. But then come the age of 10 or 16, they're progressing just saying, because I said so, because that's just how it is, right? And so you're raising these children who are taught from an early age not to have a voice.
Right. Just defer to the authority for everything.
Yeah.
And and you can't even question it.
But that's the thing is because it is just the way it is, you get ingrained into that as a pattern of life. Oh, well, the teacher tells me to do this. Oh, there's no question. The teacher tells me to jump off the bridge. Well, obviously, you would hope you're going to school where they're not, but where they are, right? Does your child have the mental capacity, and then two, I hate to say it, guts to say, yeah, I'm not doing that. That doesn't feel right to me, right? So it's like that is the goal to raise a complacent robot that just follows all instruction without question, without reason? Or is the goal for them to have their own anonymity
Right.
and then be able to make their own decision, at the same time make their own mistakes, but give them freedom so they don't rebel and go into some crazy situation like you do?
And I think like culturally, when my parents were growing up, a non-thinking, complacent robot person was more valuable than they are today.
To society, maybe.
To society, yeah, I'm monetarily valuable as a worker. Right now, that is not what is rewarded in the workplace is someone who can think and who can question and who can come up with ideas and stuff like that. So I know there is a societal shift around that, and there's less demand for a factory type of a job, and there's more demand for a more thinking. What are the
Chat GPT type of job.
Chat GPT? Right, I say that. Knowledge workers. That's the term. Knowledge workers. Information workers. Instead of making physical goods, now the valuable commodity is information. And so people who are unable to question, unable to think, are at a big disadvantage.
Well, so the goal with the parents, like, oh, I want you to think in these situations, but when it comes to questioning my authority or going against my grade, I don't want you to think there.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it really works that way.
I know, I don't think it works.
It becomes, do you I mean, I think that a person should be allowed to, but should question just about everything. And it's like, does this make sense? Do I agree with this? And there are some things that are, I guess physical laws, I don't agree with gravity. Well, too bad. It's going to happen anyway. But, I don't agree with the teaching of this church. Well, is it too bad you're going anyway? Or is it, well, let's talk about it. Why is that? What is it that you think it should be different? What do you disagree with? And that would have been a great conversation to have for 16, 17-year-old me. And I can explain my positions, and maybe they can point to some scripture that, in my opinion, would have been misinterpreted to support their thing. And I don't know, but a conversation would have been a lot better than no, get in the car.
Yeah, this is the way it is. Period. You don't have a voice in this. But that was the story of your whole upbringing. You don't have a voice,
right?
And the second you start to have a voice, it is the end of the world.
It is. It is the end of the world. And I mean, going back to what we talked about last time, where if I were to say that if I were to express my feelings, I feel that you're doing this, or I feel like this, this isn't fair, or whatever. Oh, there was always this gaslighting of, oh no, that's not what we meant. Oh, that's not how it was. Just that type of thing. So, yes, there's a lot of chaos back then.
Yeah. I mean, chaos, or just like it.
I guess it didn't feel chaotic. It was, in fact, rather orderly. But it was this prescribed order from above.
Yeah, control.
Control. It was control. And I felt like I had no control.
Yeah. Which
is what led me into computers, was because, oh, here's this little world inside of this box, and I have complete control. And I can make it sing and dance and do whatever I want. And I have control in this little realm. And I got really good at it.
I mean, it was your coping mechanism.
It was my yes, it was my coping mechanism, but it was my little universe to explore because I have complete control here. I have no control in real life, but here I have control. And I guess in the end that turned out to be a profitable thing to get into.
Well, no, but it allowed you. I mean, it was a coping mechanism in the sense that it provided you with
a sense of control.
But then it was also a mechanism that provided you with love.
Yeah, because
so you use that one thing to solve two of your core problems.
Efficiency. Yeah, no, I absolutely did.
Yeah, killing two birds with one stone.
That's right.
Yeah, right. But saying all of this, I think the realization there is that these are like nuanced and personal stories, but how they apply, like on the larger scale, is that they're kind of everybody's story.
Right. Everybody probably has a story that's probably not the same details, but they can see, oh yeah, it wasn't a church, but I had to go to this school that I really didn't want to go to, or we had to be friends with these people next door that I really didn't like, or whatever it is, and it may be that you don't have an awful lot of control over what school you go to. You don't have an awful lot of control over what church you go to, or who your neighbors are. But not even being able to object or have a conversation around that.
Yeah.
So
that sets in a feeling of helplessness.
Yeah, I felt very helpless.
Yeah, let me write that one down. Yeah. So on my end, I, even though at the family level, I am not living in the position of no control, but on the countrywide level, that is where my position of no control is coming from, right? That helplessness, because the country we're growing up with is, I'm growing up with, is living with limited resources, with corruption. And so, there's lack of food, there's lack of like daily necessities. So even though if you have money, just with the lack of resources, right, there's this sense of like there's nothing you can do, right? It's for your basic needs, right? So you're experiencing that on like, oh, well, I just don't want to go to church. And I'm experiencing that like, oh, I just want food.
Right. And it's like
But the story is the same.
The story is the same. And it's almost like, oh, mine is so benign. And it's like,
no, it sets in this exact same pain body.
I understand. I understand. It was very real and very serious to me, but I was never hungry. The idea that there's no food never crossed my mind.
Yeah, but that helplessness, like, oh, I have no control. There's nothing I can do in order to make sure that I have food for tomorrow. One, on my level as a child, but two, I'm also seeing my parents struggle through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that lack of control, that helplessness, it just sits as almost like, I know for sure on our family level, but then now that I think back, it was set like country level wide, right? Like, or the whole country is in some turmoil. And if someone is well off, it's because they are shystering their way in the world and they're bribing people and they're cheating the system or whatever. And the honest folks, are not getting anywhere. And yeah, and so, but the pain body is the same regardless of you growing up in middle class America with Nintendo, whatever they are, or Ukraine, Soviet Ukraine.
Yeah,
is you're getting the same pain body of I don't have control, and then therefore sooner or later, in my case, it goes into scarcity and helplessness, right? And in your case, that lack of control, because you feel helpless about it, then it has you rebelling into action, right?
Yeah.
And in my case, it has me basically probably for the first, as soon as I was able to get a job and start making money, that was the first thing I did, right? So because that idea of scarcity, of not having money, not being able to buy food, it was so much bigger than just even uh, my family level, that I felt like, oh, if I can start getting a job and if I can start making money, it gave me the sense of some control.
That's funny because when I was young, I also wanted a job because I would have this control
Yeah,
over my more control over my time, and I would have money to do with what I wanted, which I didn't need, but I
yeah.
still wanted. And maybe there would be some, I not that your high school job is a career, but there would have been some purpose in there too.
Well, at a high school level, you get a job, and in your case, I don't need the money. In my case, I do need the money. But the fact that, right, because you're living a pain body, you're not addressing it any other way, right? You're not cognitively sitting there as a teenager, rolling through your head, going, "What is it that I'm actually feeling inside?" And let me start to process. That's not an option, right? Which I'm hoping it might be an option if you're listening to this. But because it wasn't an option to us and we didn't even have the foresight to look at it, the only way we could address it was through physical action. Well, okay, I don't have control. I do feel helpless. There's a sense of scarcity. What can I do? Oh, well, I can go get a job and I can go, in my case, make $5.15 an hour, bagging groceries. And then there's action. So at the end of the day, when I lay down in the bed, I went, oh, guess what? I did something that was a forward progress towards the pacification of feeling like my life was helpless, or we're
Yeah,
poor,
yeah.
or we don't have food.
You did something.
I
Yeah,
did something.
I'm got to do something.
Well, no, right, but that's what it is. That lack of control and helplessness positions itself or sets itself in as action into the world,
Yeah, and
right?
that's what exerting, exercising control looks like. It looks like action. It looks like doing something to to evoke some sort of change.
Yeah,
I think that's what control means to me, is being able to change something through some sort of action.
yeah. But in truth is, on a larger scale, is to pacify yourself into not feeling like shit about the
Right.
fact that you don't have it.
Right.
And so that's the other part of this, is that's where it actually is is we have said all this in the sense that that is how it looks like and that is how it propagated itself in our life. But on the scale of having lived with it for so long, I say the right action. But at the time when you're ready, you would need to unravel, which is what we're doing right now, is unraveling how that pain body of control and helplessness and scarcity actually presents itself. And instead of living with it and then trying to pacify yourself in the physical world with 3D, how can I start to let go of it and release it? And like allow that energy to flow, right? Like, and so by analyzing it like we do, right? Analyzing like, well, here's where it came from. It came from the idea that my parents did this, right? Or the country was in this situation. But at the core, what's at the core? The vibrational frequency is I seem to, function in distress with lack of control. And so my actions of self are there as pacifiers.
I mean, I think maybe most people feel some distress through lack of control.
I think everybody feels like,
Right.
that's why we do stuff. Why does anybody go to work? Is because they feel like, guess what? If I don't do something, I can't pay my bills. I don't have a car. All right.
And that's not to say that that isn't necessarily even true.
Yeah, but they're doing that through the pain body. We were doing that. We're still doing some things through that pain body, right? You could still continue to go to work and you can still make mortgage payments and make car payments and, do whatever, even the same stuff, but with active awareness that here's what's behind it. Here's the pain that is behind it.
That's something we can talk about later, is how when you become aware of this, the actions may end up looking the same, especially to an outside viewer. You're still doing the same things. It still appears the same, but you're doing it with a different intention or a different purpose or a different, not trying to feed or appease the pain body. It becomes more honest, more,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Well, it stems from the core of just you being you, as opposed to you doing things in order to save yourself from something.
Yeah.
Like, right? You being you out of abundance almost, or out of just experience of self, or out of love, or out of joy, as opposed to, oh shit, I might not have food tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're doing something you don't like, you can, do it with that, from that place. And it is a lot more enjoyable than doing it out of, oh, I have to, whatever it is, in order to pay the bills. I have to.
Like what? Like, you mean like having a job that you don't like?
Yeah, having a job you don't like or something.
Oh, well, or just not have that job.
Yeah.
And in the long run, it depends how bad that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are certain jobs you shouldn't be having if they're energetically not lining up with you. I say that because, right, the reason why I had my job and I hated it and I should have quit, right? But the pain body, right, of like, oh my gosh, where else am I going to go?
I mean, me too.
So right, in that case, the job should have been quit long time ago.
Yeah. I despise my job. I was so depressed driving in every morning and back. I was happy driving back, but I didn't like the 45-minute drive. Oh my gosh, I really didn't like it. But I don't know where I was going with that.
No, you were saying that you can still do the same actions.
But but if I was in the place I am now, I don't think it would do that to me. It wouldn't. I just let it destroy me in some weird way. It became this like,
Well, you were doing it. You let it destroy you because, in this essence, it became the representation of, once again, you not having control.
yeah, I didn't like it, but I couldn't go anywhere. Why couldn't I go anywhere? No reason. I never looked.
Self-esteem.
I never looked.
It's self-esteem.
I had a recruiter call me while I was gainfully employed there, and I'm like, no, thanks. I already have a job. What? Why didn't I hear him out? What if it was for something great?
There's probably scarcity.
Right?
Scarcity, self-esteem. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. And so, yeah, so sometimes that job, right, you're in it because your pain body is causing you to be in it. And when you identify in the pain body of like, oh, hey, I'm just trying to exercise control, but I'm actually in fear, and this job is terrible, but because I'm in fear and I'm in scarcity and I think I'm unlovable and unwanted and nobody ever is going to hire me again, I'm just sticking with this. And so you're just staying there out of fear. Versus, once you start to discover that about yourself, sooner or later, it will no longer resonate. You'll be like, wait, what? I'm here for what reason? It doesn't even matter what the market is, what the employment market is at that time, right? Just quit. I mean, heck, what's the worst that can happen? You discover yourself on the streets as a bum.
Right? It'll be more interesting than doing TPS reports.
Yeah, I guess. It probably would. Anyway, and I know, I think, yes, it is a privileged thing to say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once you start the process of discovery, certain things will just no longer resonate.
Yeah, and certain things,
doors will open.
Will open.
Yeah, certain opportunities that do resonate with you will come. Ideas that you probably never even had before will come as you start to discover yourself,
right,
and possibly the pain behind the things that you are doing, versus like, what if I did things because I love it, not because I'm in some pain form.
And you could play it safe and do that on your way out without necessarily quitting and
that's what we did, I guess, to begin with.
Find something, get out of the bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, or you could be one of those people like me, like, screw this, I'm quitting.
Right.
Just walk away. Right. And then move on. Yeah. No, so I guess maybe we're getting close to the wrap time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just awareness of self, and as back as childbirth, maybe.
Yeah.
If you
As far
can't
back
go
as you
that
can
far.
go. Because there's something in everybody's childhood that is still to this day kind of driving them to either do things or behave in a certain way or think or feel in a certain way that is probably not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Saying that about this life, and maybe the other thing I should write down is past life. So, yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you.